New York Rangers' second pick in this year's NHL draft was Drew Fortescue. Now, this guy is an 18-year-old, 6'2", 176-pound left-handed defenseman, and picked in the third round in this year's draft, number 90 overall. He's more of a defensive defenseman than an offensive guy. Kind of has a decent two-way game. I think his offensive game is a bit underrated at times, but I think for the most part, it's definitely more of a defensive guy than an offensive guy, but definitely could develop into a true kind of two-way defender one day. I think he has a really good chance of just being a really solid NHLer. He doesn't have the flashy highlights. You're not going to see a bunch of clips here where he's deking through the whole team, snipe one bar down or something like that. You're not going to see a crap ton of that stuff or any crazy passes, but he's just a very solid, sound, really smart defensive defenseman with a decent offensive game, but I think definitely not the best. And once he gets to the NHL, I don't see him being like a 35-plus point D-man, but I do think that he has the capabilities of being a 25 to 30-point D-man, being a good top four D-man while having a really good defensive game and being a penalty-killing one kind of guy. That's probably his ceiling. His floor is going to be a Ben Harper level kind of guy. I'm not saying the exact same type of player, but I do think that that kind of player where he's like a top AHL guy, bottom-tier NHL guy with being a decent bottom-pairing guy here and there, showing some talent, not being the greatest overall player, but I think can definitely, his floor is pretty high, I think. Like, it's going to be decent. Probably a worst-case scenario, he's probably, like I said, a high-end AHL demon who's going to get called up a decent amount, or a, like, number 6 defensive defenseman kind of thing. Like, he's not going to be some complete bum. I don't think he's going to have a really good pro career just because his size, his skating is decent, his defensive IQ is really good, his defensive game is really solid. Like, overall, he just seems like a pretty safe pick. But taking a look at some of the stats here, had a pretty good year. I mean, he won gold medal at the U18s this year with Team USA as well, so that's pretty cool. Had 7 games played there, 1 goal, 2 assists, 3 points, was a +9 as well, so quite good to see that. Winning gold is obviously nice to see as a winner. He's also currently playing with Team USA at the World Junior Showcase, so he might make the U20 World Juniors. Who knows? Maybe. I don't know if he'll make it this year, but I would imagine next year he's for sure going to make it. But this year he could make it as a bottom 6 kind of guy, maybe a depth D-man. That is definitely possible. I fully expect Gabe Perreault to make it, but he might be on the edge this year. But I'm sure Drew will probably make it next year, if not this year. So either way, though, really good winning gold there with Team USA at the U18s. Then with the U.S. National Development Program, playing against some college teams, he has 62 games played, 26 points, 1 goal, 25 assists, +34, which is just fantastic. Really nice to see. And then last year or this year as well, playing against USHL teams because they play a bit of a split season there, had 22 games played, 5 assists, +13. So not bad at all. The offensive numbers are decent. They're not anything insane, but definitely nice to see that he had 25 assists in 62 games played this year against some pretty good talent. So that's nice to see. And like I said, he's committed to Boston College alongside teammate Gabe Perreault, the first-round pick from this year. So that's going to make the transition easier for both those guys, I'm sure, being that they're former teammates with the National Development Program, but they're also New York Rangers prospects, went to training camp a couple weeks ago, whatever it was. So that's nice to see. They're also both at the World Junior Showcase, so that is cool as well. Just overall, it's going to make the transition easier for both those guys, I'm sure, being that you have a buddy there who's a New York Rangers prospect, former teammate. I'm sure that can make things even harder, so that's going to be good for them. But overall, they're going to have a really good team at Boston College this year. They also got top-tier American prospects. Like, we're also first-round picks like Will Smith and Ryan Leonard as well, coming to Boston College, as well as a couple other prospects as well. So they're going to have a really good team at Boston College this year and could be, maybe not winning a national championship right away, but definitely could be competing right away, instantly, for a national championship because they're going to have a very, very good team there. And with guys like Will Smith, Ryan Leonard, Gabe Perreault, they were all like line mates for a while as well this year. That's going to really help them. And just overall, they're going to have a really good team at Boston College this year, I'm sure. So definitely should be good for those guys. But I do think that Drew is a very talented defenseman, more of a defensive guy, like I said. His skating isn't bad. It's more the top-end speed that needs to be worked on, but I think his skating is decent and definitely could be pretty good, pretty good asset one day. I mean, he's 6'2", definitely going to add some more muscle. He's only 176 pounds right now, but I'm sure he'll be able to get up to like the, maybe 185, 190, something around there. If he can really add some good muscle there, could really help out his game. But I think overall, he's a smart, defensively sound defenseman with a good defensive game, high defensive instincts. The offensive game definitely needs some work if he really wants to be a more than just a stay-at-home kind of D-man at the next level, but I think that it definitely has the capabilities of being a top 4 D-man, maybe being a second pairing kind of guy with a really good defensive game, decent offensive game at being a PK1 kind of guy. I think that's his ceiling. Like a number 4 kind of guy being a PK1, a stay-at-home defenseman, really good defensively, is probably a ceiling with a 25 to 30 points per game or points per season kind of thing. Something around there is probably what it's going to be. I don't think he's going to be a 30-plus point D-man, but if he can have 25, 26, 27 points, being a PK1 guy, being really good sound defensively, I think that's kind of the ceiling, and I think that's definitely worthy of a third-round pick, number 90 overall. His floor, I would guess, is probably a bit of Ben Harper level type guy. I'm not saying that the same type of player, but definitely a defensive guy who's a number 7, 8 kind of D-man, maybe number 6 as his floor, being just a really solid, sound defensive guy who gets called up a decent amount to the NHL, but is a top AHL kind of defenseman type thing. I would guess it's probably his floor, but his ceiling is definitely a top 4 D-man, playing a really good defensive game with a bit of offense as well in that top 4, being a PK1 guy. I mean, either way, I think even if he's a bottom pairing kind of D-man, he could still be a PK2, really stay-at-home defensive guy, being a number 6 guy. That is definitely a possibility as well. And this guy, he can be a guy who you need on your team to win a Stanley Cup. You need those defensive defensemen to win cups, and this could be that guy one day. You need Ryan Lindgren, maybe a bit underrated for most times. I mean, when you talk about the Rangers decor, you're talking about Foxy, you're talking about Keandre. But this is the guy who you need on your team. You need those defensive defensemen to win cups, and he could definitely maybe be that kind of guy one day down the road. He's going to be probably, I would say, 3 years at least before you see him in the NHL, like 3 full seasons. So maybe you're not seeing him until like 2026, 27, 25, 26 the earliest. But I definitely think this is a guy down the road, could be a huge part in the New York Rangers potentially winning a Stanley Cup. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Hope you guys have enjoyed. If you have, please smash the like button and definitely comment down below your guys' thoughts on Drew Fortescue, and do you think he's going to be an NHL player one day? And do you think he's going to be a top 4, bottom pairing guy? What do you guys think he's going to be? Thanks for watching, and see ya.